Oh, hey there. Scotty PF may be here. Welcome to a new video. As you can see, I'm in a completely different place because this is my new home. I live here now. I'll say this right now, I don't have a chair yet. So I'm literally sitting on my knees doing this video really quickly. But I thought since the year's coming to an end, or maybe it's ended by the time this video goes out, I thought let's talk about my favorite anime from this year. Now I'm going to be talking about 15 different anime because I'm going to do a top 15 because it's really hard to round it all down to just 10 because I tried to round it down to 10. I was like, nah, I can't do that. So we're going to go from 15. These are ranked from how much I really liked them in comparison to the others. Disclaimer, I may be doing some reviews on some of these anime, or I reviewed some of these anime, so if you guys want, you can check those out. There'll probably be annotations on the screen somewhere for you guys to do it, and if I have done a review of it, I'll probably let you know in the video, so we'll do that. Another disclaimer as well, if an anime that you like isn't in this video, it's either because 1, I haven't watched it, or 2, I just didn't like it, or didn't like it as much as these 15 anime. So let's get straight on to the video. Number 15. Pokemon XYZ. Now, this anime is something not many people consider anime anymore, considering it's been Americanized to hell, but in my opinion, it's still a really good show. I mean, I haven't been watching since Diamond and Pearl, but then I decided to pick it up because I was really interested again after I heard that Ash actually had a good team. And he did, and he was winning, and it was really cool. Sadly, even though it got real anime, and it's a really, really good thing that it did, because the recent years, Pokemon just hasn't felt like an anime to anyone. They revamped it. The animation style was way more anime-like. The battles were actually intelligent. Ash was actually winning a lot. Even the opening theme was so anime, it hyped everyone up when watching it. It felt like a real anime, but like I said before, sadly, it just did not make the cut the way people wanted, because Ash still lost to the Kalos League right at the end like a fucking scrub with his water type versus a fucking fire type. I mean, come on. I know it's a broken record at this point that everyone wants Ash to win a league, but he never will, and that's why he's like eternally 10, because he'll never win, and the idea is that if he ever wins, that's when the show will probably end. But the thing is, it's just not fun anymore to watch the same guy lose over and over, even after working so hard to get to where he is. That's why Pokemon XYZ is 15 on my list. Number 14. Tales of Zestiria VX. Now, I am a very, very big fan of the games of the Tales of Zestiria, but you know, this anime, it was good. Yeah, there's a really pretty animation, and the battles are really cool, but again, like, it didn't make it the way I wanted it to. It was still really good, and it's definitely one of my favorite animes of this year, but it messed up a good amount of stuff. Now, like I've said in my mid-to-point video when I talked about this anime, it does a lot of stuff right, especially when converting a game to an anime. Like, they compress a lot of stuff in a really good way. But I think a big problem I had was that they just didn't fit enough stuff in the time they had. Like, for some reason, they had multiple episodes of the anime about the new characters from Tales of Berseria that's coming out in America, I think, next year. And it's kind of annoying that they wasted time on that, but I get why, because the game was coming out in Japan around the time, so they wanted to make some buzz about it. But for other people who are waiting off of spoilers, it's kind of annoying, and it's really annoying because it takes up time for this anime. And another thing is that I just feel like I said before, they didn't fit enough stuff into it. Like, they got to a certain point in the anime that I thought they'd get into much earlier, but I mean, you know how it is. It's an anime about a video game. What can you do? But you know, that's why it's number 14 on my list. Number 13. Kizunaiver. Now, Kiznaiver was a very interesting and different anime for a lot of people. The idea of having people connected to each other's like hearts and bodies by pain, emotionally and mentally, that's a really dark idea to take advantage of for an anime. And surprisingly, it did it pretty well until the end of the anime. Most people will probably argue with me, but I felt like the ending of the show was just so lackluster and painful that it was annoying as hell. Not many of the characters that anyone really wanted to get together ended up together. The conclusions that people wanted just didn't really come, and the final conclusion felt rushed and not clear. So, I mean, it was a really pretty anime, of course, and the way they got to the ending, the pathway, the first few episodes was really good. They were really good episodes, like very interesting characters, very interesting world, very interesting like plot and everything. It's just that it just didn't end up finishing the way anyone really wanted, and that's why Kiznaiver is number 13 on my list. Number 12. Real Life. Now, Real Life was a very, very different anime from any of the anime I've talked so far. It's a rom-com, and I've been following this anime, well, the comics that it originated from since the first one. So when this anime was announced that it was coming out with every single episode on one day, on Canada Day, oh boy, I was hyped. I was so hyped. Instead of making plans with my friends like we usually do, we just ended up watching this, all the episodes, and oh my god, it was so good. I love the characters, I love the plot, the ideas, and the way the show makes you think is really interesting. I mean, like a guy who's failing at life, being able to go back to his high school life, but everyone would forget him when he finished school. That's a really, really weird thing, and it really makes you think, and it was really good, but I feel like a lot of things just fell short of the fact that there was so much more they could have put in, but I feel like it just fell short of how much stuff they could have done, as well as the fact that some characters were just there for no reason, which was another problem I had with the comics, and the fact that not much gets done. But I mean, if the anime continued a bit more, I tell you right now that the comics they do get better, so we would have gotten much more, but I mean, whatever. We have to deal with it. It's still one of the best anime this season, and it definitely deserves a watch. Now it's why it's number 12 on my list. Number 11. Shokugeki no Soma Season 2. Holy shit, Shokugeki no Soma is so good. An anime about cooking that makes it feel like it's an action anime. That's so cool. And that's one thing I really liked about Bachman, where it was a manga anime, like an anime about making manga and trying to make an anime, but it felt like an action anime, and that was the cool thing. The idea of Shokugeki no Soma being where you go to a cooking school and you're trying to be a best, and how freaking Soma is just this guy from a diner, but has a really amazing dad, and he's trying to become as good as his dad, and that's why he goes to this school, and he's just better than the rest because he just uses his wits to win. It's so cool just to be able to watch all the creations he makes, and then his friends that are just so cool, and all the shit that happens, and it was so good. But the way they ended the anime was expected. It was expected the way they did it, but I just want more. And I know it's something that's like, it's not something you would criticize an anime for, but I feel like a lot happened in this season that felt like too little happened, as well as the season being pretty short from what I remember. It was a 10-episode anime from what I remember, but it felt short, and the next arc in the manga gets a really, really good, and I want more, to see more, and I feel like there just was too little. Again, another criticism I have, but it was still really good. The characters are cool. The plot of the tournament this season was so good. A lot of anime try to do a tournament arc, and most of their like chances, as if they have the chance, they'll try to do a tournament arc, and a lot of them fall through. But Shokugeki no Soma does it really well, and that's why it's number 11 on my list. Number 10. Hondakun. It's an anime about a guy who thinks everyone hates him, but he's actually super popular. How funny is that? Now, you're probably thinking, it's not that funny. I mean, he probably realizes he's popular at the end, doesn't he? Nope. It's actually one of the best anime this season. The idea of him being a super popular guy, but literally doesn't realize it and just thinks everyone's out to get him is so hilarious when you watch the antics that go on. Especially because he has a fan club that ends up following him around and trying to help him, but Honda thinks they all hate him and is just trying to ruin his life. It's so funny, and Honda is the kind of character who just doesn't want to get involved with anyone and acts all serious about everything because he wants to avoid trouble and pissing people off. But that's why everyone thinks he's so cool, because they're like, oh, he's the mysterious type. And he's just like, oh no, they're all hating me because no one wants to talk to me, because everyone else thinks he's the mysterious type, so no one wants to talk to him because they're all scared of him, because they like him. It's so funny. And the fact that he only has one friend who has explained how it's all his fault why Honda is like this. But it's just, it's such a good show, and I think everyone should go watch it. Now, the end of the season, in my opinion, is really, really good. But I feel like it falls through on the fact that there was a lot more gags they could have done. There was so much more they could do, but the end of the season, the way they end it is a way that I feel like they could never do another season, because it just wouldn't really work out because of how they end it. But if they could do more, I'd want more, because holy shit, it's so damn funny. Sadly, I doubt we ever will. But, you know, that's why it's number 10 on my list. Number 9. Haven't you heard? I'm Sakamoto. Sakamoto is lit. That's the best way to describe this anime. A character who's just in high school, trying to be as cool as possible without even, like trying too hard. He's just doing his life the way he can, as cool as possible. He's just the coolest, the cooler, and he's just trying to be cooler and cooler and cooler, and it shows. Everyone thinks he's cool as shit. All the girls like him, all the dudes like him. He's just this cool dude, and it's so weird, the fact that he does all these weird random things that you would never expect to be something anyone would really do, but he does them and he makes them look so cool. Trying to put a fire out, he makes it look cool. He's trying to he catches a chalk, like a chalk eraser from before it falls on his head, and he looks cool. Sits on a windowsill and makes himself look cool even though he's just sitting on a windowsill. It's so interesting, and they do so much, and it's so fucking funny. Now, like I've said with other anime on this list, is the fact that it ends in a way that I feel like they could never do another season, and that really sucks, because I feel like there's so much more to do, and that's why it's pretty low on the list. And, you know, it sucks, but it's life. It's an anime that I feel like, if you like comedy, and you're okay with, you know, gags, that's what this anime is. It's a comedy gag anime, and it's something really interesting. Don't expect a proper plot, expect jokes, and it's fucking hilarious. And that's why it's number 9 on my list. Number 8. Re:Zero. Now, this was an anime I was actually never expecting to really watch. I heard about it, and people kept telling me about it, but I just was never too interested, because around the time it was coming out, Erased was coming out, and I was way more invested in that. So I never really picked up Re:Zero until the second last episode was coming out. And so I decided, you know what, whatever, I'll pick it up. It was the middle of the night, I had nothing else to do, so I picked it up, and wow, it's really good. Just from episode 1, it hooked me. The plot where the main character is just killed and then sent to another world, and every time he dies, he has a reset point, and he doesn't have a choice on when these reset points save or not, and all this other shit happens, and then this curse happens, and it's a lot of stuff that happens, and I can't go through it all right now because it's just so much work. But Re:Zero is a really good show, and it's created a lot of waifu wars out there with Rem and Amelia that I'm not gonna get into. Leave me alone. I ain't gonna give you my opinion on that. So yeah. So Re:Zero, it's so intriguing, and I watched every single episode, and I think the favorite thing about the anime to me wasn't the fact that, like, all the story and stuff, but the fact that sometimes they would skip the opening theme, or they would skip the ending theme, like it wouldn't be in the episode, because they wanted to put as much of the show in as possible. Now, what I mean is I'm not even joking about this. Sometimes the opening theme wouldn't be there, sometimes the ending theme wouldn't be there, there'd just be an opening card and then an ending card. And they try to fit as much of the story as possible. And that's something you don't see in anime anymore. I feel like most anime are just lazy about it. Put an ending theme, put an opening theme, that's it, there we go, that's how you know. But with Re:Zero, they tried to shorten it down, or they tried to extend it as much as they could. That's what I mean. Extend and put as much story as they could, so that you didn't feel robbed at the end. You didn't feel like there was less of what you wanted and less of what you deserved at the end. And I loved it. My main criticism is that the ending of the season was so bad that it pissed me off and really made me angry. But it's an open ending, so that you feel like another season could happen. So at least that's a thing, but it just wasn't good. And some other people would probably argue, but in my opinion, it just wasn't good. So I'm gonna keep my opinion to myself, and that's why it's number 8 on my list.
Number 7.
Danganronpa 3, The End of Hope's Peak Academy. Now, Danganronpa 3 especially is an anime about pretty much the end of all of the Danganronpa games before the newest one coming out next year. Danganronpa 1, Danganronpa 2, Goodbye Despair, Danganronpa, another episode, and then the other one that I can't remember right now for some reason. But anyways, yeah, it's pretty much the compilation of all of them together as a end note. And I'm not saying as in it's all the games animated. I'm saying it's the end note, as in it connects all of them, and it creates an ending, and it makes it so that all of that stuff that you felt like you were confused about, you all understand it at the end, because this anime explains it all. Now, there was 3 arcs in this anime. 3 arcs. The Despair arc, Future arc, and then Hope arc, which was at the end. The Future arc and Despair arc, much to many people's surprise, came out at the same time. You got 2 episodes a week. One on, I think, Monday, and one on Thursday from my memory. And the really cool thing about that was we got 2 episodes of an anime every week, and each one was very different. One arc was about the future, what's happening with Makoto and all the people in the Future Foundation, and then we had the Despair arc, which is about Hajime and all the shit that was happening to him and all the shit he had to deal with. And then the Hope arc was the end arc, which connected both and was just so cool. And I really liked it, but not many other people did. There were shortcomings of the fact that the ending of the show felt really extra and random. But I mean, Danganronpa has been known to be random, so I feel like that's just an unjustified reasoning. But I mean, I get why, and which is another reason why it's so on the list. But I mean, Danganronpa is so close to my heart. I've loved Danganronpa since before the first game was even localized in America and Canada and the rest of the world. So to me, I don't really care too much, considering Danganronpa has always been this really random thing to me. So, you know, that's just how life is, and that's why it's number 7 on this list. And that's why it's number 7 on this list.
Number 6.
Erased. Now, a lot of people have fought about this fact that people think Erased is good or bad, and holy shit, it's controversial. This anime itself is controversial, not because of the stuff that happens, but the community itself on whether it's a good anime or not. And I think a lot of people hated it because you pretty much knew who the murderer was really early in the show. And I feel like that criticism is unjustified because people mistook this anime for a murder mystery anime, when it's not a murder mystery anime, it's a crime anime. Murder mystery and crime are very different. Now, crime or a murder mystery anime, you don't know anything about the killer until you start getting multiple hints, and you never really get to see the murderer until it's revealed that they are the murderer. But in crime anime, you usually know who the murderer is, or the person who did the crime, very early, and then you watch the main character go through all the steps to find out who it was. Now, and if people arguing with me saying, "Oh no, why you're just making shit up?" No, in this they do this in TV as well. In like shows like Bones and what's it called, The Mentalist. You pretty much know who did it right at the start of the show because they show you hints right at the start of the show, and then you watch as the main characters go through the steps to find out who done what, and that's what Erased is. It's a show about you knowing who did it and watching the main character go through the shit to get to the end. And in my opinion, Erased is a really good show. And at the end of the show, they decide to do something that not many anime do anymore, and do an ending that's different than the ending of the manga. Now, from what I remember, the manga was done a long time ago, so the fact that they decided to go with a different ending than the manga did was really surprising, and I still thought it was really good. I thought it was much better than the ending they went with for the manga, but to each his own. But you know, like I said before, to each his own. I still think Erased is a really good anime, and it deserves a lot more like praise than it does hate. But you know, to each his own, and that's why it's number 6 on my list.
Number 5.
My Hero Academia. This series, in my opinion, I believe, could possibly surpass the likes of Naruto, Bleach, One Piece, Dragon Ball, Fairy Tail, and the like. I believe this anime has the potential. It's so good. And the fact that it caters not just to manga fans, but comic fans, because of the idea of superheroes and everyone being a superhero, and each superhero skill being very unique and different, except for the main characters, whose is pretty bland, but the fact that it's something that everyone in the superhero community has known about, their big main superhero that I'm pretty sure everyone knows, which is Superman. But the fact that it goes with this plot, and it works, and it's so good, with the main character being a character who is picked on, who's a loser, and has no skill and no quirk like everyone else, but is given one by the one he's been looking up upon for his whole life, and is trained upon the one he's looked up to his whole life, and now has a quirk, but it can't control it, and is learning to control it, and trying to be a superhero so he can one day protect people he cares about in the world. And it's so interesting, and I feel like there's so much they could do. And season 2 is coming out next year, and there's so much hype behind it. But I feel like the amount that they showed in this season was less than I hoped. Since I read the manga, there's a lot of stuff that happens, and I feel like they cut it off a bit too early. Like, they were doing one chapter per episode for a good while, which was really annoying and made it feel a lot like Naruto as well. But I mean, here's hoping that it doesn't end up like that. But I mean, it's still really good. But you know, it's still too early to tell whether or not it's one of the best, you know. So here's hoping it gets there, because I definitely believe it deserves to be up there. And that's why it's number 5 on my list.
Number 4.
Persona 3 Movie 4, Winter of Rebirth. Now, Persona, as if you've been following my channel for a long time, you know I love Persona. Persona 3, Persona 4, I love all that shit. Persona 5 is super hype. It's gonna come out next year. It's gonna be so hype. I love Persona, and the fact that the Persona 4 anime happened, and then they literally announced after that Persona 3 was getting a 4-part anime movie series. That was super exciting, and the fact that they showed them all in Japanese theaters but not in American theaters was super. It was cool for Japan, but I feel like I got robbed, and I was hoping they'd do the dub, but they never did the dub for the anime. But movie, whatever. But it was really good, and it's really surprising how much they actually stayed to the how much they tried to stay to the source material, and the fact that they did for 99% of the whole, like all 4 movies, is really good. And this 4th movie is so to the T the way everyone I feel like wanted it to be. It was so good, and for an anime movie about a game, especially the end arc of the game, it's really good. Now, if you've never watched the other 3 movies, you better go watch the other 3 movies, because holy shit, this movie is so good. You have to watch the other 3 and then watch this, or else you won't understand shit. But it was so good, and it was so hype. And if you love Persona and you love Persona 3, this series, these 4-part movies, it's worth watching. Just sitting through and watching the hype. Now, I get some people were kind of disappointed by the fact that it's not Fez, because Persona 3 and Persona 3 Fez are very different games. Persona 3 Fez had an extra part called The Answer, which had a few more things about what happens to the main character at the end of the end of the series, and a lot of people were confused on why they never explained any of the Fez stuff. But people forget that Persona 3 was first before Persona 3 Fez. Persona 3 was the original game without any Fez, and that's what the movies were adapting, not Fez, but the original anime. Now, one day maybe they will do a Persona 3 Fez movie, but time can only tell. I think it was really good. I was also disappointed that they never decided to do Fez, but you know, we have to live with it and can only hope that we get a Fez, because this was such a good movie, and I think you guys gotta watch it, and that's why it's number 4 on my list.
Number 3.
Keijo. Holy shit, you would be surprised by how much I praise Keijo. Now, it's an anime that not many people would give a chance, because right when you find out what it's about, you probably aren't interested anymore, because it's an ecchi anime. And when I say ecchi, I don't mean super ecchi. I mean, yeah, it's super ecchi, but it's a sports anime about girls beating each other up using their boobs and their butts on a platform above water, and if you fall in the water or use anything other than your boobs or your butt, you'll lose. And a lot of people would probably be turned off immediately, but it's a really cool anime. And the whole idea about it being a sport is the most interesting part, because when you learn about the sport and learn about the techniques they use, you get really intrigued. Because I started watching the anime, I watched episode 1, and I was like, wow, this is really intriguing. I watched episode 2, I watched episode 3, and then I watched episode 4, and then eventually I got sucked in. And it's so good. And then they have other references to other anime, like Attack on Titan. It was so good, and I feel like not many people give it a chance because of the fact that it's known to be ecchi, or a show about beating each other up with their boobs and butts. But it's a really good show, and I feel like a lot of people should watch it if you're interested in sports, or at least just try to watch from episode 1 to 3, and tell me you're not at least a little bit intrigued, because it's really good. And I know it's not for everyone, but it's really good. Now, I don't think it tops the next two, but it's definitely a really good show, and that's why it's number 3 on my list.
Number 2.
Digimon Adventure Tri, movies 2 and 3, Determination and Confession. Now, I'm a really big fan of Digimon, okay? It's not a surprise. I love Digimon, and I do love Pokemon too, but Digimon just has a special place in my heart because of how much cooler it is. Because Digimon actually got shit done in their shows, so, but like I was saying before, Digimon Adventure Tri is a very different ball game, because they're all older, and they're all learning to hit puberty properly, and trying, deal with the fact that the world is ending, and their friends are dying because of the whole new Digimon data shit that's going on. And it's a really, really interesting thing. If you're really into Digimon, like I am, and is full of nostalgia like I am, Digimon Tri is where it's at. Now, a big criticism I have with the Digimon Tri series is the fact that there's so many unanswered questions that we still haven't been answered to, even though it's been 3 movies in, and another movie coming out in February. I just feel like we still won't get any answers that we want. It's been a long time, and I feel like we deserve some answers, and I feel like they're being vague on purpose, but I feel like at least just give us a little bit, like the fact that the O2 guys are still not in the show. Like, where the hell is my boy Davis? All I want is Davis. I don't care about fucking Ken. I don't care about Lee or Cody. I want Davis. That's it. I want him chopping up on that Kari. That's it. That's all I want. Where is he? Why is it that barely any of the characters ever mention him? Or any of them? It's so weird. And I want to see my boys from O2 come back already. Come on, yo. I love Digimon, but I want O2. Please. And that's why it's number 2 on my list.
Number 1.
Bungo Stray Dogs, Season 1 and 2. Now, both seasons came out this year, which is pretty crazy, and I loved both of them. Bungo Stray Dogs is one of the best animes this year, if not of all time. Now, it's a very intellectual anime, if I were to say so myself, when it comes to analyzation, because there's so many references to famous authors and writers and all this other shit in real life, but that's not what I watch it for. I watch it for the story and for the action, and that's what this show is about. The fact that, like, only certain people have things called, like, special gifts, and each one is very different, with the main character having one where he can turn into a tiger, or parts of his body into a tiger, but he can't fully control it, and then his friend where, well, his co-worker, which has the ability to be able to nullify any other ability. And there's so many different ones. It's so cool. And the fact that the main team are part of a government facility, a government agency, where they try to make sure, like, solve crimes and stuff, and they're trying to fight the mafia, who also have gifted people, and they have to fight, and it's so cool. And then a third party for season 2 shows up, who are called the Guild, who are trying to find some certain item to help their leader, and they have to, the mafia and the government agency have to team up to be able to beat him, and all the shit that goes on in this season is so good. Like, barely anything happens for no reason, and the final episode of season 2 is, I think, one of the best ways they could have ended the show and still keep it open for more stuff, like they do with season 1. How they end season 1 is also really amazing, but I'll talk about that another day. But the way they end season 2, with the first 4 minutes of the show, literally title card, not the theme song, title card showing the title of the show, and then cutting into the final battle, because the second last episode of the season 2, they set up for ready for the final battle, right in front of the final guy. Then season 2, they start right with the final battle, with this theme song playing, and then when the theme song ends, the final battle is over, and you see who wins, and then the rest of the episode is other shit that goes on, and then builds up to a happy ending, but also showing off that another enemy is coming, and is ready for them to destroy, and it's so good, and there's so much build up, and every season has more and more setup for the next season, and it's so good, and I'm so hyped. So that is why Bungo Stray Dogs is number 1 on my list. And that's my top 15 anime of 2016. Now, I know this video is a little late, but I mean, it happened at least, so drop a thumbs up if you liked it, subscribe if you like my videos, because, you know, I do a lot more anime stuff, and I plan a lot more anime stuff this year, for this year specifically, as well as the fact that I do gameplay stuff. If you like that, you know, can you check it out, you know, subscribe if you like, you know. But anyways, yeah, that was my favorite anime of this year. If there's an anime that you like and was not on this list, let me know in the comments down below. Not the description, in the comments down below. In the description, I'll put some honorable mentions of anime that I did think about putting on the list, but just didn't make it. But yeah, if there's an anime that you wanted on the list and it just didn't make it, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll reply, because I try to keep in touch with the audience as much as possible, and we can have a conversation like normal people. So, thank you guys for watching. Scott, if you have maybe out. See you guys next time.